This episode of the podcast is brought to you by Keller's Garden Center and Landscaping Services. Are you still cutting your own grass? Are you still trying to get your landscaping to look perfect on your own? That sounds sweaty. That sounds like a lot of work. That sounds like a job for Keller's Garden Center and Landscaping Services. Family owned and operated. Keller's Garden Center and Landscaping Services, located on Kern Street in Exeter near Blue Ribbon Dairy, has the quality and experience to get your yard looking its best. The Garden Center offers plants, trees, sod, mulch, rocks, flowers, topsoil, grass seed, straw bales, and much more, while the Lawn and Landscaping Services offers mowing, trimming, planting, and full landscaping. And also new at Keller's Garden Center is the Zen Chaser Bonsai Studio, offering bonsai trees, supplies, and classes. Visit them on their social media page for more info. Keller's Garden Center and Landscaping Services. Get your free estimate today. Mr. Aaron Fink, welcome to the Popko Project Podcast, a platform for the discussion and discovery of arts and entertainment. Welcome back to the show.
Yeah, man. How many times is this for me?
Well, this will be I think the second time on this specific platform under the Popko Project. Before we jumped on, I did some research, just a little deep dive. And last time you were on, it was with your father.
Okay.
January of 2022. So we're 2.5 years removed from that time, and a lot has happened in those.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I remember that. And then I remember going to when you were at the radio station in Scranton.
Yeah, that was before that even.
Yeah, was that called the Buzz?
Well, when you were on it, it was called Alt 92.1, and before that it was Fuzz. And since then, we've brought Fuzz back.
Nice.
So, yeah, it's exciting stuff.
Why is it fluctuating so much?
Let's see. How do I answer this without getting in trouble? It was Fuzz, and I don't know why they felt the need to rebrand it to Alt.
Okay.
Because it was the same music. They just wanted to change the name. So it went from Fuzz from 2012 to 2017, and then it was Alt from 2017 to 2020. And then in 2020, it went away completely. And then we just brought back Fuzz July this year, so a month ago.
Gotcha.
And I went back to radio. that was part of the whole plan. They pulled me back in. So yeah, I'm doing radio again and doing the local show, which is fun. And it's good to be back kind of on the airwaves, so to speak.
Yeah, dude. I love it.
But what's going on with you the last 2.5 years? I mean, it's been a long time. You got married, I think, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got married about a year ago, so that's been life-changing to say the least. And what else has been going on? Been traveling a lot with her. Been to some cool spots I've been to before, but also new ones, and seeing it kind of in a different light. Making lots of music. I did a little tour with a band I'm in called Earshot. That was last fall. We did an American tour. So that was good. It's been a long time since I've been out the road in a tour bus, so that was interesting to kind of find my sea legs again in that world.
Yeah.
And, just been recording as usual and writing as usual, and I'm putting out a record here in the fall, so I'm excited about that. Man, there's always something going on.
Yeah, so for anyone who doesn't know, I mean, Aaron Fink, a man of many projects. Most notably, we'll say formerly of Breaking Benjamin. Does that get old? Do you get sick of that?
It doesn't bother me.
Okay.
It is what it is.
Part of your life, right? But
yeah.
It's probably just you're so much more than that now, right? It's so far removed from who you are now.
Yeah, I'm getting there. I've done more projects since than I did while I was in that band. So Yeah, no, I'm proud of that legacy of the time period I was in it. Um, I hear the music on the radio still, and it's still cool.
Yeah.
And it holds up well. It doesn't sound dated to my ear, but maybe I'm biased, but it sounds really good still. So I'm proud of that stuff. It is what it is, you know?
Yeah.
Um, so no, it doesn't get old.
Well, it's good. Like I said, it's part of who you are. It's,
Yeah,
we all have a journey, right? We all have
yeah,
stages of our lives. And I mean,
yeah.
that's not a bad part for sure. I
Right.
mean, I'm a huge fan of that music. And I mean, I think I've commented on, you've even done some like stuff on, social media where you're doing either guitar stuff to some of those songs that you were part
Yeah.
of. And I've always like been a huge fan of the band, huge fan of the music, and just a huge fan of yours too. Just
Uh,
um yeah, it just so yeah, huge part of my life. So it's like it's cool to be able to stay connected to you. And obviously, you've done so much more after that, as we said. You're part of Earshot now. We had, you were in Lifer, out of Lifer. Lifer was a thing again, and now it's kind of in limbo, I guess.
I'm not really sure what's going on with that. We didn't like break up or anything. Where everyone's just kind of doing different projects. I'm doing my solo stuff. Nick and Tony actually from Lifer ended up in the band Cold, and they did some touring. And then Nick restarted another project he had called Death Valley Dreams,
Which I love. Yeah,
and they were doing their thing for a while. So we're not like broken up. I think we're just kind of all scattered about
sure.
um, for a bit. It's interesting too. Like we kind of restarted that band, and as soon as we got going, the COVID thing happened. So
It's like the
um,
world doesn't want you guys to exist.
yeah, like once again, there was some kind of life changing thing that happened just when we were getting going and kind of
Yeah.
didn't shut it down, but it kind of, um, we got sidetracked a little
Yeah.
bit, as one would.
Right. Yeah, that's unfortunate. But Stardog Champion, I don't know if I said that already, but that was a
Yeah,
cool project you were part of. And of
yeah.
course your solo career, and you're, like you said, you're about to put out your sixth studio album.
Yep. Um, 1, 2, 3. Yep, this is number 6. This record coming up is called The Invisible Line. And it's funny you mentioned the number because I plan on doing 10. Um, so this is the 6th one. So there's 4 more to go. And I lifted that idea. I saw this great interview with Quentin Tarantino,
Yeah.
and he's doing 10 movies, and I was like, you know what? That's a great idea. I'm lifting that. So I plan on doing 10 solo records. So we got 4 more coming.
So initially, I think you started releasing solo albums in 2015, and for 4 years straight, it was every year, 2015, 16, 17, 18.
Yeah.
And then not another one until I think 2022. So I'm going to ask this question. Obviously, we know the pandemic happened in 2020.
Yeah.
Now, did that have anything to do with it, or did you kind of just get like burnt out releasing a full length album year after year, and you kind of wanted to take a break, and then obviously COVID may have extended that break longer than you thought it would?
Yeah. There was no plans to do one every year. It was just kind of the rhythm of it at the time. Um, we kind of were starting to redo, Lifer in that period. I had joined Earshot in that period and was busy with that. And then, COVID and, I had some personal, um, you know, developments. I don't know. So there was a bit going on. And then um, just did it when I felt ready to do it. Again, I got the itch with the invisible line in the winter. So I either wrote a bunch of new songs, or some of them on there are kind of ones tidied up that I had sitting around. So I seem to go through periods where I write a lot, and um, they usually all come in a at the same, not at the same moment, but within like a season, like a winter or something, if you, for whatever reason. So there'll be times when I'm really into writing and hunkering down in my little workshop here. And then there's other times where I'm like more thinking about playing shows and playing with guys in real life situations and stuff. So they're two kind of different headspaces. And, it comes when it comes. There's no schedule to it.
Right.
So if there's 4 more to go, I have, it could be 10 years between each one. I don't.
Okay. That's fair.
Yeah.
Whenever it comes, it comes. It's the floodgates open, so to speak. Yeah.
Yeah, I do write a lot though, and there's a lot stockpiled. So I've, there's hundreds of songs I've written.
What do you typically write about? Do you write about life experiences? Do you kind of have like this creative avenue where it's kind of like fiction? Like what are some of your what do you pull from?
Some of the songs I write, I don't know what they're about. There's other ones that I clearly know what they're about. And there's a lot of life experience in there. Some of it's negative, like if something went wrong, I'll write about that. But there are some in there that are positive and are celebratory. Other ones are just kind of vague. I've written songs that are just kind of nonsense words strung together that don't really mean a lot to me. Not too many of them. It's interesting when I go, some songs like I thought were really, there's a lot of like 90s alternative songs that I've since learned to play and sing, and the lyrics are just kind of nonsense, and they really don't do much for me when I go to sing them. And
That was Butch's entire career, wasn't it?
yeah. So yeah, I'm trying not to name names, but like I've gone to sing Nirvana songs, and I'm like, they just mean nothing to me when I sing them. It's just nonsense. Now, are they still great songs? Can you rock out to them? Of course. Are they still put together very well? And Kurt was a great writer. Yeah. But like, they really just don't mean anything, and it's hard for me to get into them. So I'm going back to my own stuff. The songs I think that have weathered the years better than other ones are the ones that had a little bit of personal meaning and or some universal meaning to them that someone else could figure out that that it meant something to them. So the ones that are more just kind of alternative, if you will, and just kind of just words that strung together that sounded cool, really don't stand the test of time for me. So I hardly ever play them live or whatever. So.
I gotcha. I'm always curious about that, just because like I'm not an artist by any means, and like I feel like I'm so black and white. It has to be about like something, and it has to be like a life moment, or I think about marriage, I think about having kids, and you think about these moments in your life that like kind of like impact who you are. And I would never be able to kind of like create something in my head, or to put down into words like a fictional type of scenario. So it's like it's one of those things, like I really respect artists who have that ability, whether it mean something or not. Like it's just something that's not for I don't have that.
I mean, have you ever tried? You never know.
Have I tried? No.
Yeah, right. So there's an art to writing lyrics, obviously. You'll find out that just because you want to write something in an exact way, it might not sing well. So it has to have a certain cadence and a rhythm to it. syllables have to fit within the context of your music bed, and so that'll shape a lot of things. You might really want the word conspiracy in your lyric in your verse, and it just doesn't work.
Doesn't work.
So you figure out a synonym, or so there's that. So like my father writes poetry and stuff, and I think at one point I took one of his poems and tried to make it into a song, and it just doesn't work because it has to be a slave to the music. And if it was just written free form, it has no exact rhythm or something. So lyric writing is very different than writing a poem. It has to go with,
or writing or the music even. I mean, like,
yeah, for sure. Right. And if it's super heavy music or something, there's, you're probably going to lean towards something of angrier nature, or, something like that. So.
It's the thing too. Like, I don't know. Like, I've never been angry. Like, angry. Like,
angry?
I've never been like real angry.
Right.
I mean, I'm a pretty even keel kind of guy. I mean, have I been angry? Sure, but like not like really like let's go smash something angry. I don't think.
Yeah. Your next question is going to be, have you?
Have you?
I have. Yeah, I have a temper, but it takes a while to blow. Like it's a slow burning fuse or something.
Yeah.
It takes a lot, but yeah, I'm pretty even keel too, but I do have it takes a lot, but I
mean, I think anyone can get there if they're pushed far enough.
Yeah.
But let's talk about this new album. You said it's going to come out in the fall. Right now, today is August 6th, right? What time are we looking at a timeline here this fall?
Yeah, so next Tuesday, August 13th, the next single gets released. And possibly the video the same day. I don't know.
Okay.
I did that with the last song. People seem to dig that little 1-2 punch. And then there's I'm playing a show at the Ritz here in Scranton on September 14th, and there's no definite date for the album, but it might coincide with that show in some regard to kind of make that also like a 1-2 punch. So
sure,
there's no exact date, but for now, I'm releasing singles one at a time because that's what people told me I was supposed to do. So
when have you followed the rules? Come on.
Yeah, everybody's got an opinion on how the music, what's left of the music business, how it works. And it's funny to hear everyone's opinion because I don't think there's any rules for anything that really works anymore. So it went from a structured thing where if you do A, B, and C, you probably will get D. Now it's a free for all. And there's all these experts out there on how to manage the free for all, which seems the opposite. I could see experts back in the day being like, if you do this, this, and this will happen. Now,
right.
Especially in my feed on my social media and stuff, because I'm a musician and I'm clicking on stuff and reading stuff. There's so many experts out there. And I would say, man, if there's ever a time where there's no expert opinion, it's now. So I listen to that stuff, but I get a chuckle and I take it all with a grain of salt because, dude, there's like no rhyme or reason to anything anymore.
Yeah, talk about that. I feel like I talk about this every single podcast because again, this podcast is primarily musicians. I'll talk to other entertainers, comedians, authors, things like that. But it's primarily musicians, and they range from guys older than you, guys and girls your age, and then I just interviewed a group yesterday. They're 18 years old. I'll have to share them with you. I think you'll dig them.
Nice.
From Florida. They got produced by the guy from Alice in Chains. William, I don't know his last name.
Oh, the singer.
Yes, the co-vocalist or whatever that
Yeah,
is. Yeah. So that they're back, they're working with him. They've got
very
some
cool.
yeah, some involvement with Mastodon as well. So young kids, really nice kids,
Yeah,
bright future. But obviously, I mean, they were born with the internet, right? They don't know anything
yeah,
else.
the whole thing.
So it's like it's weird. So like someone like you who you know had millions of records sold, and you said you did A, B, and C, and D happened.
Yeah.
You witnessed all that. You did the videos, you signed the contracts, you followed the rules, right? And then now it's like you said, it's the Wild West, and it's much different. So, what are your opinions on like where you were in the early 2000s to like how things are today?
Uh, they're mostly negative. I don't really have. I, it's hard to see any positives with. Um, I don't know. I see people. If we're talking about I guess we're talking about the music business here, since that's my
Yeah,
area of expertise. But like, there's some people that go viral or whatever, and that's one avenue, like a TikTok person or whatever. Um, I guess the girl who made that Victoria's Secret song is like the most successful TikTok person. I don't know. I saw that somewhere. Uh, I go on TikTok and I just feel really old and out of it, and
I stay
everything's
I stay
everything's
off.
very annoying.
I stay off. I got rid of it.
It's just like the stuff I see on there. I'm like, what's going on? Maybe I'm just too old for that, but
Right. Same.
of course, there are very talented people at the highest levels, of course, but I see some stuff that's a little questionable. Um, I
Well,
don't
I
know.
feel like there's not
Very,
longevity there.
yeah,
There's
like
not longevity. So if you go viral, um, from one thing that you did, like do you have the ability to, recreate that or, you know, build off that? And the
yeah,
answer is, I don't know, maybe.
right. So, my answer is going to come across as very old manish, but I just from a different era where you had to be able to play and sing, and you didn't rely on computers, and it, like people used to come up to us after Breaking Ben shows and be like, "Wow, you sound just like the album," and it'd always be like, "Ooh, what else would it sound like?" It's the same dudes who played on the record. So like,
Yeah.
I don't know exactly what my point is, but I think it's just a different era of coming up where everything was done on a computer and everything's locked to a grid and everything's shined up in Pro Tools and stuff. And I just come from a different era. Like, even my band Lifer, we recorded our album on 2-inch tape. So it's just, there's no, uh, of course, there's effects and it's mixed, but
Right.
there's no um, retakes because you
Right.
can't on tape. Once you commit, recording the tape's interesting because once you commit to a performance, you can't go back. Once it's erased, it's erased. Then you have to make a decision: do we go any more forward? Can we beat that? Because again, as soon as you record over it, it is what it is. So, making records on tape is very interesting, kind of a lost art form. But um, yeah, it's just different, man. Back in my day, you got a gang together. You started writing songs. You didn't. Nobody was interloping between bands. You were always in one band, and that was it. You got a local following together, and then you did the tour. You sold the CDs. You made merch, and T-shirts, and whatever. But it's now you can kind of never even play one show, and like and be on the Grammys 6 months from now. Like,
Yeah, or leave your
no,
house.
there's no groundwork needed anymore, and it's weird. And I don't think that makes for any longevity, but I don't know. Maybe it does. It's just a different world.
It definitely is. And I always say that I don't think, you know, minus maybe Taylor Swift, right? But I don't think we're ever going to see. I think the Foo Fighters and the Pearl Jams are kind of the last, uh, groups that will have the length of career that they do. We're not going to see the Rolling Stones and like things like that ever again. Like those are the last kind of guys that are going to do it for that long and with this basically the same group and kind of create 10 plus albums and stuff like that. Now Taylor Swift again, she's doing
Yeah.
it. I mean, she's
Yeah.
got something, but it's so many like I don't want to say one hit wonders because I mean that's like you said that's what we're doing now. We're doing singles and we're releasing
Yeah.
those and which is unfortunate. I like streaming because I like to get what I feel like is um you know music from my favorite artists like on a regular basis as opposed to waiting 2 years.
For
But
sure.
dude, I remember in 2004. I'm gonna blow the name of that album, but the Breaking Ben album from '04. Was that
That was We Are Not
We Are
Alone.
Not Alone, right? I was thinking
Yeah.
Phobia, but I think Phobia was after that. But I remember like putting that into like the CD player that I had in my bathroom, like getting ready to go to work and stuff like that. Or not even working. I wasn't working. I was in college still. But like,
Yeah.
when you have those 2 year hiatuses, like when that comes out, that's a special moment. Like I would go to the Gallery Sound. It's at that time it was on a Tuesday when albums came out. Going out, Gallery Sound, or maybe it's even that he does like a midnight release. Like I'm
Yeah.
going, I'm getting it. Like there was special moments of my life that I'll never forget.
Yeah. The same, dude. Um, I think the biggest one for me was, so we grew up here in Pennsylvania, and I grew up in central Pennsylvania, and there was a semi-local band called Live, and I had their first record, and they weren't super popular. They were like a little tiny bit popular, and I had gone to see them at Bucknell University, and they played most of their new record. And I was like, my mind was blown. It was like the most perfect rock music I ever heard. So when the release date for Throwing Copper was announced, I remember I was super psyched, and I went to the store like, the minute it opened, and I don't know if there was a line or whatever, but I remember that feeling of being super excited for a release day of something and going to buy it, and that ritual of going to a store and physically buying something and holding it in your hand, again.
Are we old?
Yeah. But
Dude,
like, there's something about that,
it was
Do that.
2001. I think you had to have been in life at that point. It was the first, yeah, it was the first release. You guys did a midnight release at Gallery Sound in Edwardsville.
Yeah.
Right? You did like an autograph sign. I was there. I was in line. Fast Freddy was outside with one of the stations at the time, and maybe I don't know if it was the X yet or maybe it was the Bear. I forget that part of it.
It was called the Bear at that point.
Yeah, but I remember so
Yeah, dude.
I'll never forget. I saw Boobies that night. Like, because Freddie was like, "Who wants to come to the front of the line?" And he's, he was Freddie, right? Inappropriate, but like not like, anything like nasty. But girls, up, shirt up. I'm going to the front. Like it was like, I'll never forget it. As long as I live,
Yeah.
I'll never forget it.
Awesome. Yes.
Yeah, kids today, like, oh yeah, like it appeared on my Spotify playlist when it came out. Cool.
Right. It's just, yeah, and it's just, one of a million releases in a sea of bands, and everybody and their cousin is in a band, and it's so easy to record at home.
Which is also great though, right? It's the ability to create and the ability to get it out there. Like I have this podcast. This is actually going to be episode 199.
Nice.
almost at 200, right? But like any idiot can do this. Like I'm an idiot and I'm doing it. Like, which is great. Like I can create this. I can have this for, however long. Like
Yeah.
that's really cool. But I mean, is it quality? I hope people like this. I hope they enjoy it. Like I
Yeah.
appreciate people like you even entertaining the idea of coming on here. But like, so that part's really cool. But there's so much out there. It's like, uh, it's gets watered down.
Yeah. It's hard to sift through everything. And, I always say with social media, everybody has their own TV station now. And it's interesting to see what people do with that power. And,
Not a lot of great things. I'll tell you that.
oh, it's mostly negative from what I see.
I
It's
I
90% negative. And it's just everybody bitching about everything. And it's like, that's interesting to me that's what not you, but
the world.
whoever wanted to do with their TV station. It's
Yeah.
like,
Well,
it's interesting everyone's choice with that. But you get, I guess, back to music and stuff. It just kind of, you put out stuff these days and it just gets lost in a sea of scrolling. And for the past 8 years, it just gets lost in the sea of Donald Trump and all the political shit and all the chaos. It's always front and center. And so, it's tougher. It you can sort of create your own destiny, but it's tougher because it's just back in the day there was a one MTV.
yeah.
That's where you got your music from. And if your band, was on MTV, you're golden. Even if, so now there's millions of sources of where you're getting your entertainment or your music from. It's, you even go on watching TV, there's like a million choices and stuff. And it's like, Jesus, bombarded with stuff.
Yeah. It's so fragmented too. Cause like my primary job is I work in sales for the radio
Yeah.
station. So I do radio ads and I do billboard advertising too. Like so my job and before that I worked at the Weekender, so it was a print publication. Like my job is to help businesses advertise their restaurant, bar, product, whatever it is to people, right?
Yeah.
Now, of course, as we enter, not enter, I should say enter, we are in a digital age and there's more targeting ability with like things like Facebook and Google ads and this, that, the other thing.
Yeah.
The radio stations and the print media kind of, takes a hit to that kind of stuff. But the grand scheme of things, an advertiser's budget is not, it's probably smaller than ever. So they really have to pick and choose like what they do. And I don't think any one thing is effective. Like you can do your Facebook stuff, but you're missing out on terrestrial radio and print and outdoor and TV and all this stuff. So I think it's complicated.
Right. And again, and I guess in your world, that is the same in music. Again, I was saying that all these people have advice on what to do. And it's like, I don't see any clear path to anything anymore.
Right.
It's just throwing darts into the wind, Can you be successful? Of course. But it's harder to know how to accomplish that or why someone is, more successful than somebody else. Like I saw just recently, I saw a clip of that dude, Machine Gun Kelly.
Yeah.
And Stephen Jenkins, I think it was, from Third Eye Blind.
Third Eye Blind, yeah.
Singing together.
Oh, really?
Unbelievably bad. I mean,
come on.
Dude, it wasn't even anything. It was crazy. And they were like headlining a stadium. And so again, there's like, I get that the dude looks cool and he has pink hair and he's all tatted up and he played Tommy Lee in the dirt. I get all that, but is he a fantastic musician? Of course not. He's
right.
No, not even close. So there's different, I get that there's different reasons. I think I've learned over the years that people really listen with their eyes. They really
Sure.
do.
That makes sense.
They really do. And I learned that, I don't know, it's the hard way, but I just learned that over time. I've learned that people love branding,
Yeah.
and they see and they listen with their eyes.
Yeah.
And I, I I don't care about either of those two things. Um, Rick Ocasek from the Cars was badass, and I love his music. But in today's world, he didn't look right for the part, and probably would not get a record deal. I saw a great interview with Phil Collins, and he's one of the most successful musicians of all time. He's like, look at me, dude. He's like, I probably wouldn't even get a record deal in today's marketplace, and he's literally like in the top 10 between Genesis and a solo. He's, and my personal, like one of my favorite musicians ever. And he's like, I wouldn't even get a record deal, dude. I don't look right. I'm short, bald.
Genesis was one of my first favorite bands. Genesis and Dire Straits. It's probably like my first.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We Can't Dance, or I Can't Dance. It was just like
Genesis. Yeah. That's a good track. Yeah. Anyways.
But yeah, you're right. It's just like, and it's what's worst is like it's all that is targeted towards the younger audience. Like I always say too, I grew up with, no reality TV. And then when reality, quote unquote, reality TV came along, like I was old enough and smart enough to be like, that's not real. This is still like scripted and staged and all that kind of stuff. But kids today, man, the Kardashians, that's real life. These musicians, like it happens. Like they went on TikTok, they did this, they're famous now. Like I can do that too. Where it's just not real.
Yeah. When I was coming up, there was just the beginnings of that. And I actually, I really liked that show, The Real World, when it first came out.
So did I.
And it wasn't scripted, but they were put into situations that would like
those producers knew.
Yeah, it put you in a situation. Just the concept of it is whatever, 7 people from different walks of life in a small apartment together. So that just the concept of that is situation, like it's going to bring out stuff, but it wasn't scripted. And then, and it came out when I was like perfect age, when I was coming home from school, watching TV or whatever. So, but then, yeah, you're right. After 10 years later, it became very scripted and kind of set up, and everything was like, I'm sure, talked about before you hit record and stuff like that.
Yeah, the reason I said it stinks because like, we talked before we hit record tonight, and I have a 6-year-old and a 2-year-old, and I have no idea how I'm going to navigate the world as it is because, and again, like we sound like boomers, we sound like these old men, shaking a stick at a cloud, but it's just like it's a different world, and I think so much changed so quickly because of the internet and social media and all that kind of stuff. Like our parents probably said the same thing about us as kids that we're saying about the generation.
We watch too much TV. And
yeah, you're gonna melt your brain, yada yada yada. But I don't know. It's just I don't know, man. It's just weird. And you have a 23-year-old kid, like
yeah, right. His whole life was the internet, and then half of his life was smartphones and all this, and the power of the internet right in your pocket, the whole world right there in your pocket. Just very, I mean, I'm not a psychologist, but it seems for a young mind, that's very dangerous to have the whole world and access to it all right in your pocket. It seems like, and you can see that there's an uptick in suicide. There's obviously all these school shootings,
depression, all that.
Yeah, so it's like it's from, again, I'm no expert and I don't have the statistics, but it seems like a lot of young women are like unfortunately committed suicide, and then you have the young men who are snapping and going someplace and shooting it up. It's like it seems like there's a lot more of that going on than there used to
Yeah,
be.
it's unfortunate. And I hope we can kind of figure it out. But I mean, in the same sense, like you have a computer in your pocket, you have access to information like instantly. You don't have to like wait to go home and like open up an encyclopedia or go to the
Right.
library. Like we
We'll be
should
to
be
the
smarter
library.
than ever. Like we have it literally at our fingertips, you know?
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't make you smart, I guess, just seeing stuff. And there's a lot of bad information out there, a lot of
That
stuff
too.
that's twisted up, and it's just, um, yeah, I don't see that as making people smarter. I think it's evening the playing field a bit. Um, you know, if I don't know something, but you do, or you learned something I didn't, or you paid attention more in school and I didn't, I can as quickly look it up on my phone as you can. So it kind of evens. I think there's a lot of that going on in the world now where a lot of the playing fields are being leveled on various fronts. It's like, uh, again, going back to music and stuff, like I came up in an era where you had to be able to play the whole song awesome from start to finish and not fuck it up. And I think in when you're learning music now, it's just like, well, I'll just do another take or do 100 takes of it, and I, even if I have to play it live, there'll be tracks rolling and, uh, I can, you know, take a sip of a drink and the song will keep, what I mean? So it's like, I just came up in a different era where I had to be
On.
accurate and
Yeah.
learn my craft and, and all that good stuff. And I'm not bitching or anything. I'm just saying it's a whole different way of thinking.
Absolutely.
Oh.
Well, we're not going to figure it out tonight, right? so, so let's you released
Yeah.
a first single off this new album, and it's
Yeah.
a Tom Petty cover, and
Yeah.
it's very unique in that, like, there's some out there, but it was very the ones that are out there were kind of like very much in the same vein. Like it just kind of just
Yeah.
they did a cover, and I think you kind of put your own twist on it. So talk a little bit about why you did that song in particular, and just a little bit about the process there.
Yeah. Uh, yeah. So I just put out a Tom Petty a cover. I won't back down. And like you said, I was quite aware that that song had been done a million times, and all the covers that I heard of it, unless there's something out there, just sounded very stock and just like you did it exactly the way he did it in the same key and the same tempo, and so I had played that song live for a while, and then as the more times I did it, the more times I kind of twisted it up and made it my own thing. So someone suggested to me that on my new record I do a cover because they're like, it's always your own songs, and it's like if you slip in something that's familiar to people, it might stir the pot a little bit. Maybe someone would get it.
Pull people
That's
in
like a gateway to one of your songs. So
for
like you
sure.
give them this, and then they're like, well, I'll check out one of his other songs. So ultimately, I want people to like the music that I write from scratch. So, anyways, I was gonna originally do something a lot more obscure and a little bit, not as well known. Obviously, that song is a smash classic hit that everyone's heard a gazillion times. So um, I twisted it up. I made it my own. I think it's different enough that it's it has a fresh approach to it. It's not like just the same thing. So and it's slightly heavier, and I just gave it a little bit of an edge. I think it's a powerful song lyrically, so I wanted to give it like a little bit of power. Hopefully, I did that. I try.
Yeah.
So I hope
I
people
think so.
dig
Yeah.
it. Yeah. Yeah, dude.
Yeah. That's it.
Yeah,
That's it.
done.
I thought you had more to it than that. All right. No, that makes sense though, because you're right. I mean, and whoever told you that, people who are very smart, right? Like, yeah,
Yeah.
if you kind of capture an audience that is familiar with stuff like that, and you can pull them in
Yeah.
to introduce them to your original stuff. So that's very
Yeah.
smart.
Yeah. Yep.
Um,
Doing.
you sent me some other songs, and Overdrive
Yeah.
was one that really caught my ear, and I hear a little bit of Led Zeppelin, Cashmere in that song.
Yeah. Nice. Um, oh, maybe in the bridge or something.
Yeah, yeah,
That funky riff. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Zepp comes into my music. It has a way of seeping in there from time to time. That's because that's my favorite band. And not, it's never on purpose. It's accidental. And I think it's a good thing that,
yeah.
Jimmy Page has certainly influenced me greatly. And so anytime I can add in a little bit of some sounds like that, I'm all for it. Again, it's never intentional. I'm very good about I've known the people that were they listen to the song and be like, let's write a song like that. I've never done that in my life. For better or for worse. Everything I do is from some unknown source.
Yeah.
Within, and that's just from years of playing music, writing music, being in bands, and listening to music. It's obviously you're influenced by everything. I'm influenced by stuff I don't like as much as stuff I do like. So, when I hear a lot of newer music, I'm like, that's exactly what I don't want to do. Even though I know I'm supposed to, and everyone tells me to modernize everything and grit it out on the Pro Tools, do it up. And I am who I am, and
Yeah.
I'm never going to be a pop star. I mean, I just don't have to. But so yeah, dude. Like all my, I was greatly influenced by Metallica and even U2 or something. So like you might hear that stuff seeping in just by osmosis.
Sure, of course.
So it's
Yeah,
in my
and
musical DNA. Yeah.
it was funny because when I listened to it, I know like we've known each other for a long time, and I
Yeah.
don't know that we talked a lot about your influences over the years, but I mean, who at our age, like who hasn't been influenced by Led Zeppelin and things of that nature, like, but like when I heard it, it didn't at all think that like, oh, like he did this on purpose. Like it was definitely like
Yeah.
you're a musician, so like again, you're taking all these things that you've heard over the years that you've just experienced, and like it never felt forced at all. It just kind of like it was just a very natural thing. So
Yeah.
that's cool.
Yeah. And I've had a couple. I'm also in kind of the reverse way of that. I've heard um, newer bands on the radio that sound a lot like Breaking Benjamin, and I
Yeah.
could hear. I'm like, wow, that sounds. So I'm proud to have between Lifer and Breaking Benjamin. Um, I got in a zone there where I was doing a lot of the same chord voicings and detuning in a certain way that's kind of in some awesome way has influenced people after me in the same way James Hetfield and Jimmy Page influenced me. So like that's cool. And I do hear that and in the opposite way. So
Yeah.
that's
Did
cool.
you ever think that would happen? Did you ever think like when you were younger and growing up and like did you ever think like that one day you would have that kind of impact on um an audience? Like I mean, like Breaking Benjamin, and I know that's like a part of your past, but like it's still it's still like um relative. It's still a thing in the world. Like
Yeah.
um you had like in your time there, you had that impact on people. Did you ever think that that was gonna be the case, or was that kind of like, oh wow, this is really cool, and I get to do this?
No, I couldn't have predicted that. I knew the only thing I knew was that I felt I'm trying to think of a way to say it so it's not corny. I felt like music was my destiny.
Yeah.
Um, I know it sounds corny, but um, I had always done all these other things, and I was like a skateboard guy, BMX guy, and into all this stuff when I was a kid. And as soon as I started playing music, um, I was good at it like right away, and it was like my light bulb moment. And I really didn't want to do anything else but that. Except the only thing, my backup plan was to be an architect. So
Okay.
that was like my thing I was gonna do if I didn't like that's what I was gonna go to college for real and do that if I couldn't make it in music. But I was also very realistic and I thought, to make it in music was a long shot and everybody not necessarily my parents, but the world at large, teachers or principals or whatever would be the first ones to tell you like that's silly. You're never gonna make a career out of music. That's a dream. So
Right.
the logical part of me said, well, we'll just always do it for fun. And I was always really passionate about it and put in a lot of hours practicing and refining my craft and playing lots of shows in the real world, not just, again, it was before um, social media and the internet and YouTube and all that stuff. So real world experience. And yeah, really, the first time, I quit my day job, I think in about 1998. So I've been doing this for a minute. But the first
Little
real,
bit.
yeah, a
Little
minute.
bit.
First time I ever thought like this, where you like kind of made it, was when my band Stranger with Candy played this like kind of goofy MTV show, and we won it. And that's the first time I thought like, hey, I might not, you know, have to go back, to a regular job, so to speak. So that was like the life changing kind of thing that one thing led to another, led to another, led to another. So I was very fortunate to have those series of events arise. I always tell my son, like, I don't believe in luck. I believe in preparation meets opportunity. So I'm not, I wasn't sitting there smoking weed and playing video games and lightning struck me on the head. Like
Yep.
I worked, I put myself in situations that might lead to other things and I networked and I put in the hours and I worked on the craft. And thankfully, one thing led to another. Now, it doesn't always work out that way. So
Sure.
I do know that. But I've always tried to be prepared when something might occur.
When your name gets called,
Yes.
it's like when you're on a sports team, you gotta be ready. Like when the coach calls you in, you gotta be ready. And I just used that preparation meets opportunity line last night with
Really?
those kids.
Nice.
Yeah. I mean, I'm a big believer, and it only takes one chance, one opportunity. Like it's
Yeah.
you gotta be ready for when that happens because you never know.
Yeah. You won't always be, but if you have some sort of path in your mind and work towards that, right. Again, if you're sitting the bench and you're just like, oh, coach is never going to put me in. I'm not going to run that extra mile or do that extra practice. He'll never put me in. And then he actually does put you in. It's like, well, then you weren't ready for that. So,
Yeah.
um,
It's funny you brought up the MTV thing too, and it's another moment where you have been in my life, like for like memorable things. We had the Lifer event at Gallery of Sound,
Yeah.
and I remember when that was on MTV. I don't even know how my dad came across it because he was not an MTV watcher. I don't know how he heard about it, or if he just by a complete accident, but he turned it was on, and he shouted from downstairs. And the reason I bring it up too is like my dad's no longer with us. He passed away in 2005. So these are some moments that I cherish, that I had with him.
Yeah.
But he's like, John, there's this band from Wilkes-Barre on TV, and I ran downstairs and we watched it together.
Nice, dude. That's a good
Yeah.
memory.
Yeah.
So, wow, that's heavy.
Yeah,
Wow.
it's amazing how many moments of my life that you have been a part of. So, and I'm not saying that for any other reason outside of the fact that like I appreciate how you've been involved in my life and in the ways that you have been, whether it's been
Yeah.
musically or as a friend. I remember I was at your place for was it your 30th birthday? I forget even at that point.
Ben.
It's just we go
Yeah.
back a way.
Yeah, it was a good hang.
I'm thankful for that.
Yeah, it's well, you're from Wilkes-Barre, whoever's watching this, and right? Or you're not a Scranton guy, you're a Wilkes-Barre guy.
I'm actually in the middle right now. I live in the Pittston area.
Oh,
So
where you grew up though?
I grew up in Hunlock Creek.
Oh, okay.
I'm a country boy.
Outside of Wilkes-Barre, but
Yeah.
it's
So when I went to the Gallery of Sound for that signing, like that was a
going in the big city.
late night, drive to the city, yeah.
Yeah. So I think my point was it's interesting how in people's psyche, I've been woven into the Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania musical community and
Right.
history. Even though I'm not from this town, it's interesting how that all worked out.
Well, we're very proud. We're proud
Yeah, and
group.
I'm proud. I'm like
the Valley with the Heart. Like we took ownership of you guys.
Yeah. You wouldn't think too on paper, like, hey, move to Wilkes-Barre, that's where you're gonna make it big.
Yeah.
That on paper that didn't track.
No.
somehow it did. And I always tell people, I'm like, you would not believe the music scene that we had here in the late 90s. It was off the charts. And there's no evidence of that now. And so it doesn't seem real when I say that, but between physical evidence, all the clubs are gone, all of them. And then it was pre-cell phone and social media. So there's almost no evidence. In fact, if anybody's watching this, who has any of this stuff, I would love to see some old pictures. Again, I guess you brought like a little film camera with you of like us playing at Tink's or those the old Straight Outta Candy shows where I swear I tell my son these shows were packed every night. Tuesday night, 700 people there,
and he's probably like, no way, Dad, because he knows what it is now.
Yeah, Friday night, 1,100 people, and it's like it doesn't seem real, and I really have no good evidence to show them. The places are gone, and there wasn't pictures, and there wasn't the internet. So
he's like, "All right, Dad, time to go to the home. Let's go." It's not even that.
Not even him, but I do interviews and stuff, and I'm like, I'm telling you, Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania, and Scranton, and Hazleton. Those three, there's 3 cities in a row. For whoever's watching this, not from Pennsylvania, they're all kind of in a row in this valley of mountains. And between those 3 cities, I literally, got my chops together and played so many shows and had so much fun. And, there was such a vibrant scene and so many fun places and crowds, every night, enthusiastic crowds too.
Yeah.
And some chaos thrown into the mix there, but it was really a good time. It's probably even a little bit before your time. So,
It
so
actually, yeah. I mean, I didn't turn 21 until 2003, so
yeah,
I missed a few years prior to that. And it's funny because, and I talk about this a lot too. Um, yeah, I feel like every 4 years, more got kind of taken away from us. Like 4 years prior to me, there was maybe 20 other places that existed. And then when I got in the scene, there was, 20 less. And then even my wife, she's 4 years younger than me, and she never witnessed a show at Murray's. She never was even in Murray's in Wilkes-Barre. Like
yeah,
that was a staple, like for
yeah,
me at my age. And for you, I'm sure that there's the station and there was Market Street Square. I think they were the same thing actually, but you had
same
the
thing.
staircase and you had
Tanks.
jitterbugs and tanks. Yeah, it's just like all these places, and it
There's
kills me.
yeah,
And I don't know how to. I don't know how. I don't know that it can ever come back because I strongly believe that this area still produces really great musicians.
it
And
does.
that's why I'm so happy to be able to be back on the radio and share, 12 to 13 artists a week, because I would put this area up against anybody, any other city across the country. I really would. Um, so it still exists. It just there's a lack of places for them to play and perform and to do what you did and hone your craft and eat shit and play in front of three people. I mean, Breaking
Maybe,
Benjamin, I remember Ben, it may have just been himself playing at the Voodoo Lounge to 10 people on a Tuesday
yeah,
night or whatever it was. It's
right.
that that's part of the process. That's part of the journey, you know?
Yeah, yeah. It's just not the same. Again, all these highlights you can chop them up and make me sound like a really old man, but like,
No, I'm with
and
you. I'm with you. I'm right there with you, dude.
there was the phone and the smartphone, I guess, and social media. It just all changed, and then here in Pennsylvania, they pretty much, I don't know if this is exactly true, but I believe they're like mandatory DUIs now. You can't. They used to back in the day pull people over and
Yes.
kind of be like,
We're-
if you're not too bad, I'll let you go home.
yeah.
And now there's none of that, especially in Pennsylvania. So like,
And we're not condoning drinking and driving. We're not doing that
no,
at
but
all
I'm
here.
saying that was
Part of
like
the issue.
people
But
used
now
to
you
go
have
out
Uber. Now we
party
have Uber.
down. Yeah. And it was different, a different time. It was
Now
just
you have
different.
Uber. It's never been easier to like travel safely to and from places.
Right. But there's a lot of like, you know, Netflix, there's a lot of people just
Stay
staying
home.
at home.
Yeah.
I'm not going out um, to party. And
And the pandemic didn't help that at all.
it's just not there anymore. And I don't think it's coming back, dude. I don't. So there's still the big concerts of the bands that were grandfathered in at the arena or the shed or the stadium. That's never going away. What I'm talking about is where I cut my teeth in small
Yeah.
clubs. You walk into a bar. Bars back then, almost, a lot of bars had a stage, a PA system hung up, a sound guy, a bouncer. You paid a cover to get in. So then the band actually got paid some decent money, especially if they drew. So if you drew, you got paid more. If you didn't, that was your
It's a
whatever. But
commission. It's a commission.
I'm talking about that kind of middle class music scene. It's just it's non-existent.
I think it'll come back. I don't know if it'll happen in our lifetime. Everything's cyclical, right? I mean, think about music and how the format,
Yeah.
records, 8-tracks, CDs, or tapes rather, CDs, and now we're doing records again. Like I think
Yeah.
we're gonna get to a point where it's like, wait, we can go out and see live music. We can do this like this. I think it'll happen, and maybe not when we're alive, but I think it's gonna be like someone's gonna see a video like, wait a minute, people were out doing these things.
Yeah.
No way, and it'll be cool again.
Yeah.
I hope, but I hope alive. I hope I'm alive to see it. I really do. And you know, I'm not saving the world by playing, local music on a Saturday night, but I like to think that I'm doing my part the best I can, right?
Yeah, you are for sure. You're keeping the scene alive. You're keeping original,
But I want it to like
alive.
exist. I want venues to open up, and I know it's like so hard. And
Not very. I don't see. I don't think it's very hard to have a stage, a PA, a couple lights, and a bouncer at the door. And I don't think it's that complicated.
all right,
It's
so
not.
you're one of my investors. Okay, gotcha.
I don't.
I got
I
it.
don't. I don't get it.
I got it. All right, you're one of my investors. I keep saying like I feel like
Yeah, I hear
uh
you.
no, I feel like it's like my calling is to like like open something. Like I do all these things. I do the radio show. I do the podcast. I've been around local music for 20 plus years. I feel like the next step is like we need a venue. The next step is like having a place for people to play on. So
Bad. Yeah.
investor, you're up.
All right.
You're in.
All right. Let's talk off the air.
Well, hey, it's getting late. I don't want to keep it too long. So let's really quick touch back on your upcoming record.
Yeah.
And your show at the Ritz, because this episode 199, you didn't make episode 200. I don't even know who's that's going to be yet, to be honest with you. But you'll be episode 199, and it should, barring any unforeseen circumstances, August 16th.
Okay.
What can people expect from the record that might be different from previous things? And then talk about your show coming up at the Ritz, because you don't play out a lot, especially here. So this is
Yeah. I don't. Yeah. Right. So the Invisible Line is the new full length record coming out, I think in September.
Okay.
And it's slightly heavier and slightly more, kind of slicker sounding, for lack of a better term, than the others. And so on the last record, which was called Dear Universe, and then this one, The Invisible Line, I made a conscious effort to kind of get a little bit heavier with my solo stuff. Obviously,
I noticed that.
Yeah, the bands I've been in over the years were always lean towards hard rock and heavy metal and new metal, or whatever you want to call it. And then when I started making solo records, I kind of made a conscious effort to go a little bit more rock and roll, a little bit more loose and like not very produced and kind of raw sounding. And then once I got to Dear Universe, I made a conscious effort to go back to the stuff that I used to do and that I'm known for. So Invisible Line, again, is just a kind of another collection of 10 tunes that I was really into at the time when I recorded this in January of 2024. And, so it's another collection of tunes. I hope people dig them. And then, I'm playing the show at the Ritz in Scranton on September 14th with the guys, and there'll be a full band rocking out show. And I do, my own stuff.
Who's your band?
So I don't have an exact 100% steady band. It kind of varies. It's hard to get.
We have some go-tos.
Yes, I have kind of a bench of
they're getting called up.
Yeah. So the main guy that plays with me all the time, his name is John Novak.
Love that kid.
He's been with me for years, and he plays guitar and sings. And then for the show at the Ritz, a guy named Josh Karras will be playing drums, and a guy named Greg James will be on bass. And so that's
Josh has been on this show before.
Oh yes, nice.
Yeah,
he's a good dude.
Yep.
He's been doing stuff off and on for a number of years. He was in a popular bluegrass band actually called Cabinet for a little bit. So We won't be playing any bluegrass, but we're still gonna be having fun.
Well, and that's a cool weekend too. It's part of the Electric City Music Conference,
Yeah,
which I bring that up because it's a whole weekend of music across the city of Scranton. It's an award show on the Thursday, the 12th, and then Friday and Saturday, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, is like just bands
yeah,
packed into some of the venues, the V Spot, the Ritz. Obviously, we're going to be playing on that Saturday, and
yeah.
it's a great weekend. It's like one of my um, the weekends I block off and tell my wife, listen, that Thursday through Saturday, I'm going to be in and out. I'm going to just park my car in Scranton and walk here and there and just kind of check out the scene. And it's
Very
just a
cool.
great weekend. So if anyone's
Yeah.
watching or listening to this, definitely check out that weekend. And
Hopefully we see you there.
yeah, I again, my life right now is I don't know what's happening tomorrow, the way
Gotcha.
things are going lately. But my plan is to be there that weekend. So
Love
again,
it.
it's Electric City Music Conference, September 12th through 14th, and
Yeah.
that's exciting, man. Like I said, you don't play a lot
I don't play too often.
around here.
Again,
especially.
there's not a lot of clubs,
Yeah,
and
not yet, not yet.
not yet, not till we open ours.
Right.
But
Exactly. I mean, that's what we'll call it.
get
We'll call it
opportunities.
hours.
Yeah, ours. I do get opportunities to play acoustic a lot, but it's just I enjoy doing it when I do, and I can do it. It's just not my thing per se, and it's not exactly how I want my music presented. It's not exactly how I want someone to hear my music for the first time.
That's fair.
It's not how I wrote it. It's not how it sounds in the record. So why would I keep my mindset is why would I keep imprinting a bad or less, a not a basically not the correct version of the song into people's brains. So like I would love what I do is play electric guitar in a rock band format. So that's what I should be doing more times than not. It's just it's tough. Again, all the clubs kind of went away. And it's at our age, it's getting harder and harder to get guys to go out and do the thing. Everybody has the day job and the wife and the kids and all that good stuff. So it's not like it used to be back in the day where it was, hey man, let's go do a crap tour in a van and trailer. Those days are kind of long gone.
Yeah, sleeping on floors.
I take what I can get, yeah. But
yeah,
if I don't know if you see my point there, is like
I get it.
I could play acoustic till I was blue in the face, but it's not how I see my music being presented.
It's not representative of who you are and what you've done. It's like you're not just some guy who put out a 10-song record. It's just not the case. We talked about your resume, and you deserve to be able to pick and choose based off that.
Yeah, it's just like, if that's, I would make the records just acoustic guy then, if that's how I wanted them to be. So, but a good problem. It's a good problem. It could be worse. So.
If things were worse, I mean, yeah.
Yes.
I mean, things are pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah, man.
So, well, I'm looking forward to the full release. That sounded gross when I said it, but
I'll have to drink for that.
Are you drinking a Coors Banquet? Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Are you into Cobra Kai?
The show? I watched the first season. Is that what they drink on there or something?
Well, yeah, Johnny. He's a big Coors Banquet guy. Coors Banquet's been promoted well by the show Yellowstone, but
yeah,
Cobra Kai, man, great show.
I remember I watched the first season. I enjoyed it a lot. Obviously, there's some nostalgia attached to it because I saw Karate Kid in the theater.
Yeah.
And then I remember, like a lot of shows, as the seasons went on, I was like, this is getting goofy as fuck, dude. So I kind of tuned out.
Yeah, so I think they just released part 1 of season, I want to say 6. I could be wrong. Don't
Wow,
quote
they're
me.
that far into it.
Dude, and so I was like a huge fan of season 1. I was so mad at myself because that was on like YouTube had YouTube Red. Like I
Okay.
want to say like late 2000s. I want to say it was like 08, 09 even. I could be
Yeah.
wrong. I don't remember. But it was on YouTube Red
Yeah.
when that was like a thing, and never got any Steam. Then it got picked up by Netflix, and I watched it there because it was accessible to me. I'm like, holy shit, this is amazing. I was so mad at myself for not watching it when it was on YouTube. And it picked up there. They were, seasons to follow. This is the final season. I think it's 6. I should check that, but I won't.
You're into it.
Dude. Well, like season 1 was great. Season 2 was great. Season 3 was like, eh. I was very like on the fence about it. People like
Pick it
I
back
posted
up.
on social media. I'm like, this season's terrible compared to the others. They're like, oh, you're wrong. Like whatever. But all in all, it's a very good, very good. I would recommend watching it.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of shows that are great the whole way through, and then there's been quite another lot that I've been into at like season 1 or 2, and then it goes off the rails. Let me think of a good example.
Walking Dead. Fuck that show.
Walking Dead was like season. I remember the first couple of seasons of that was amazing.
Amazing.
Then it went off the rails. There's another show called Westworld that I was really into, and then it just went off the rails, and it happens. And then there's other ones that are so good the whole way through, like Peaky Blinders.
Yeah.
You know,
Prison Break just got added to Netflix.
I don't know that one.
I did. I think it was 05 it came out. I watched it the day one. I probably watched the series 10 times over the past 15 years or whatever, or almost 20 years now. Jesus.
Wow. You're into it.
It's a great show. I mean, it's so like, it would never happen, but it's like cool to, it's well done. We'll just say that. That's on Netflix, just got put on like last week. It's
Okay.
something to watch. Check out Prison Break. Yeah. But,
Cool.
well, dude, I'll let you go. I've yapped your ear off for longer than I expected to, but I always like catching up with you and appreciate your insights on, where you've been, where you're going, and just being a great part of our scene here and in PA. And obviously you've done things far greater and outside this area. And I think what I mean is like we're just lucky to have you. And
wow.
Yeah.
Thanks, dude. Wow.
Looking forward to the new record coming out. So
Thanks, dude. Yeah. Pushing forward, making new music. That's what I do.
I'm guessing it'll be on all streaming services. Like I know you're old school. You're going to have physical copies and CD and vinyl, or
I didn't make CDs. I did make vinyl this go round.
Okay, cool.
And that'll be out before it's out digitally.
Okay, very cool.
So people that are into that scene and doing the vinyl thing, that will be available soon.
Awesome.
Yeah, if you want to check that out.
Cool, man. Well, hopefully I will see you, if not sooner, hopefully I'll see you on September 14th at the Ritz.
Let's do it. All right, bro.
Buddy, thank you. Appreciate your time.
All right, dude. See you, John.
Take care.